Vitamin B12. Many people have already heard of it, but hardly anyone knows how deeply this vitamin really affects our health. B12 is absolutely not a niche nutrient, it's a key. And if it's missing, then quietly an entire system inside us collapses, from the nerves to the metabolism and even our brain. And that's exactly what's happening right now to millions of people, often unnoticed. B12 is so crucial and belongs to the cobalamins and is part of the B vitamin group. But its functions go far beyond blood formation, which was once thought to be its only role. In the past, people thought that B12 was only important for preventing anemia, that is, a deficiency of blood. Today we know that it affects how young our cells stay, how well our nerves function, and even how actively certain genes are switched on or off. Because B12 is a real regulator in our body. It is necessary for cell division, for DNA synthesis, for energy metabolism in the mitochondria, our body's own little energy ovens, and for protecting our nerves. And if it's missing, does the homocysteine level rise? And this in turn increases the risk of stroke, cardiovascular diseases, accelerates aging, and can even reduce brain performance. By the way, there are 3 active forms of B12: adenosylcobalamin, hydroxycobalamin, and methylcobalamin, and each has its own function. Adenosylcobalamin works in the mitochondria, which are our little power plants, and without it, energy production stalls. And nerve cells in particular, they suffer. Methylcobalamin is one of the key factors in the so-called methylation cycle. Here, it also ensures that homocysteine is converted into methionine, and from that, S-adenosilmethionine, or S-adenosilmethionine for short, is produced, a substance that controls almost all repair and regeneration processes in the body. Now, on to hydroxycobalamin. This is the storage and transport form. It keeps our B12 reserves stable and converts into the active forms when needed. And if this cycle is disrupted, it leads to loss of energy, nerve weakness, concentration problems, fatigue, and over time, the brain can be damaged as a result. And now something exciting. There is actually a new perspective on B12 and nerve protection. B12 is not just an accompanying vitamin, but a real neurovitamin. Especially in combination with B1 and B6, it shows impressive effects. These 3 vitamins together promote the growth, maturation, and networking of nerve cells. They have protective and regenerative effects, which means they protect nerves from damage and at the same time help regenerate already damaged structures. And in studies with patients with diabetic neuropathy, faster nerve conduction velocities, less pain and less inflammation were observed when they took B1 and B6 combined with B12. And I think it's fascinating because a few years ago, it was still believed that true regeneration in the nervous system was actually very difficult to achieve. Well, there are always new research findings. Let's continue. B12 and healthy aging. What does it have to do with it? As we get older, B12 becomes more and more important because absorption through the stomach becomes more difficult. Gastritis, reduced stomach acid, and medications that prevent stomach acid production, the so-called proton pump inhibitors, all block absorption. A large-scale chorus study showed that more than a quarter, I think it's even more, at least that's what I checked for myself and observed in my practice with my patients. People over 65 in Germany have too low or borderline B12 levels, and that doesn't come without consequences. A deficiency can lead to concentration problems, depression, muscle weakness, and balance issues. Newer data even show that low B12 levels correlate with higher values of neurofilament, light chain, and glial fibrillary acidic protein. Both are actually markers for nerve damage. And that means a seemingly normal B12 level can still lead to functional damage, especially when homocysteine or methylmalonic acid are elevated. So that's why we need to look at modern diagnostics and why measuring a total B12 level is not enough. In the past, only the total B12 level in the blood was measured. Today, we know that's too imprecise because it also measures the inactive forms that the body can't use at all. The new guidelines focus on holotranscobalamin as the active form of B12. I think I made a video about this 10 years ago, but at least it only took 10 years for it to be recommended by science as well. So, if this holotranscobalamin is below 25 picomoles, there is a high probability of a deficiency. Additionally, you should measure methylmalonic acid or homocysteine to really detect a functional deficiency. This is especially important because many people with a plant-based or simply modern diet may have normal blood levels, but still have too little of this active B12 in their tissues. So what do you do now that really works? I'll explain it to you. It used to be said that only injections help if you suffer from a B12 deficiency, but today we know that's no longer true. Another large meta-analysis with over 4,000 patients and patient time, it's clear that oral, sublingual, or even intramuscular administration are equally effective if the dose is high enough, about 1,000 micrograms daily. That's a huge advancement because many people can now stabilize their B12 levels safely, easily, and without doctor visits. And for vegans, B12 isn't just a nice to have, it's a must. Not a single plant-based food reliably provides B12. Even fermented products or algae contain analogs that are not active. And that's why I also recommend regular supplementation, even for people who eat a mixed diet. The optimal forms are methyl and adenosylcobalamin, which are the active forms that are directly utilized in the metabolism. To sum up why B12 is not a minor vitamin, B12 is one of the most crucial micronutrients of all. Without B12, no proper energy balance, no stable nervous system metabolism, no healthy cell division, no good mood. A deficiency can start quietly and gradually, beginning with fatigue, concentration problems, or even tingling in the feet, and years later can lead to irreversible nerve damage. And that's why my advice is have your B12 levels checked regularly, preferably through the holotranscobalamin level or also through homocysteine. And then make sure you have a stable supply with high-quality supplements in active form. Because B12 is not just a vitamin, it's a key molecule for your energy, clarity, and your quality of life. You just heard how important B12 is, so it's best to have your B12 levels checked. And definitely share this video. Because I believe that once you know how important B12 is, you'll focus on it. And life can just be so much easier when you have enough of it.